Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today for a special international webinar in the series on CS overseas opportunities in USA. We are excited to bring an intensive discussion around the theme with our three very esteemed panelists from our overseas center in the USA. The chairperson of ICSI Overseas Center, USA, with more than 15 years of legal experience in various jurisdictions and industries, Ms. Renuka brings a diverse and valuable perspective to ICSI and its stakeholders. She is also a licensed attorney in the USA, India, and UK, and has expertise in the international in-house counsel, commercial contracting, and corporate compliance. She is based in OE, USA. C.S. Praveen C. Medikudam is a partner of law firm International Legal and Business Service Group, LLP, and the secretary of ICSI Overseas Center, USA. He earned his Master's of Laws, LLM, from Temple Law School, Philadelphia. Praveen is licensed to practice in law, New York, and US federal law. He is based in Villas, USA. C.S. Lakshmi Mittal is, of course, of Tax Cox Law Group and treasurer of ICSI Overseas Center, USA. She is based in Virginia, USA. She has a diverse and strong educational background with a master's degree in law focused in American US law, legal studies, business laws, and alternate dispute resolution from Georgia Mason University School of Law, and first degree in law from India. She is an experienced lawyer with a demonstrated history of general practice of law in various fields. We are indeed very grateful to our speakers for taking out time from their pressing assignments and gracing this webinar with their presence today. Friends, as you all know, ICSI has been taking initiatives to facilitate, develop, and promote the profession of company secretaries with the highest membership and student base of the company secretaries in the world. The ICSI today has evolved as an inclusive body on global governance map. In order to enhance knowledge and exchange professional potential, the ICSI signed MOUs with the Chartered Governance Institute and the Chartered Institute of Securities and Investment. The MOU with CGI provides reciprocal exemption to subjects as well as training requirements to each other's members, and the MOUs with CISI provides the CISI qualification to ICSI students and members at 50% discount. Besides this, the ICSI is also closely associated with organizations for economic cooperation and development and has received landmark recognition for the profession, whereby the Malaysian Association of Company Secretaries adopted the ICSI standards, secretarial standards, for benchmarking its own standards. It is also noteworthy to know that understanding the need for cooperation among us international professional bodies, the Institute became a member of the Corporate Secretaries International Association Limited, International Valuation Standards Council, and International Corporate Governance Network to enhance the employability of Indian company secretaries abroad. In fact, the visibility has been further enhanced with the International Benchmarking Agency, UK ENIC, providing an equivalence to the ICSI executive and professional programs with bachelor's and master's degree, respectively, in UK and UAE. With overseas centers in Australia, Canada, Singapore, UAE, and UK, The ICSI is helping company secretaries explore opportunities beyond our national boundaries. The United States is a global leader in innovation, technology, and diverse industries that calls for constant demand for skilled individuals across various sectors. With a strong emphasis on corporate governance practices, companies in the US prioritize ethical and transparent operations, making the role of company secretaries particularly crucial. Professionals like us are the guardians of good corporate governance, ensuring compliance with the regulations and fostering a culture of integrity within the organizations. This unique series of webinars on opportunities for the company secretaries in the jurisdiction has been created to help our stakeholders understand the regulatory environment of other countries so that they can prepare themselves in accordance and become the true ready global company secretary professionals. With this brief background, may I request CS Renuka Raman to address the members, please.
Thank you, Mr. Dwarkanath. It was lovely and excellent to know the fact that we are expanding internationally and we have covered close to a dozen countries probably at this point, and so excited to see the growth and the Malaysian government accepting our governance standard as their base is a step up. I would definitely agree on that in terms of how we have been always taking other countries as our base for forming laws, but this is the first time that our country is having a base for other countries' law, which is an excellent step forward in the right direction, I would say. With that, I would just wanted to briefly give an overview of our ICSI Overseas US Center here. We started the center around 18 or 19, I would say 2019. 2018-19 timeframe where we started talking discussions and forming a group. We founded the group as a 7-member small group, which now has expanded to about over 50 members, and we are still looking to have more members included in the bucket for now. So as a primary goal for the Institute and the US Center is mainly to bolster the global reach and influence of the profession while simultaneously broadening the scope of professional opportunities available to our own CS members community in the international scale. We try to create a supportive environment that fosters collaboration, networking, and knowledge exchange, thereby empowering our professionals to thrive and succeed in diverse global markets. Through various strategic initiatives and partnerships, we aim to elevate the visibility and prestige of the ICSI profession worldwide, while also facilitating access to resources, expertise, and opportunities for career advancement. That's a very quick overview of our US Center in terms of what we are here today and how we are working to build the center here. Like all of you, I did my studies in India, which I graduated from the Government Law College in 2005, LLB. Then, as any other person would do, a standard one, go join CS because you're a law profession, so you have to do CS. So that started off my journey as a CS, and I got licensed or became a member in around 2010. And since then, it has tremendously helped me in my career because when you join as a law firm, I joined in the law firm and worked through my way as a senior associate. While working in the law firm, there are so many aspects of corporate law that comes into play as a transactional attorney, where CS really helped me in various aspects, understanding the balance sheet, how to read documents, what are the laws that are applicable to a company overall. So all these kind of helped me build my own path and my career and my skill set at that point. At that point, it was more like, oh, I have to study all this. And then it was also known as inter and final. Now we call it more fancy names. I think it's executive and professional. I don't know. Is that right, Dorkanaji? Yeah, so that's the starting point, and it's wonderful journey that I have had with that knowledge and moving on to the US. It was an interesting market here. It's a different feel here. Just to give you a perspective, we would definitely deep dive into all this, but when you come to US, it's a whole different animal here. You get what you learned is good, but you need to learn more, is what you'll know. What you did was excellent, but what you have done here, it doesn't translate that well. So that's the whole fun part of growing your career in a different country, I would say. So that is why, as a CS center in the overseas US, when that idea sort of panned in, we were all so excited. Even now, all of us are so excited because we still want to succeed. We still want ICSI use that knowledge that we learned and enhance it and somehow help everybody to get that credit and move up in their career. So that's where I would stop now, and then we'll move on. As we deep dive, we can talk more about our career paths, options, and that's very primarily the goal for today's discussion, is offering some insights on opportunities available. And of course, opportunities comes challenges too. So we would be talking about them as well in general. So we get an overview of how, when you come to a new market, what to expect. So when I came in, I had no idea what to expect. I had nobody. I didn't even have CS members out there. Maybe, I don't know. But somehow I managed to connect with the then vice chairperson, Lakshmi Garg, who gave me a lot of guidance. And there was a couple of others, Nitin Kotak. They are all still my best friends, mentors, and support for me. If I have to go to them on anything, I don't know, I just call them and say, hey, I need to talk to you. Can you help me with this? And then they are always there to help me. So that's what I want to create for everybody, for all of us. When people come into this new country, they're looking around and like, what do I do? How do I do? What, like, you are extremely overqualified, but then this market doesn't recognize that. So that's going to be the fun part of the whole discussion. Dwarkanaji.
Thank you for briefing us about the journey that you have taken after completing your CS from India to US, and also talking about the establishing the overseas center in USA and the efforts that are being made by you people as a group to establish or get connected with the fellow company secretaries who are there in US and other places. Now, may I ask Mr. Praveen to give the opening remarks, please?
Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for joining. This is really an interesting time that we are all meeting and discussing about the opportunities, the career paths, and everything. With the changes that we have actually seen since past 2 decades, and I personally realized the opportunities that we all can be involved in especially in the US at this point. So coming back to my connection or my journey into the US, I'm from the first batch of foundation from India. So I passed out, I qualified in year 2000. Then I also realized at the same time that you've been seeing a lot of multinational companies coming to India, doing business, opening their offices. Then in part that we were involved in their compliances, their incorporations, their registrations and everything. Then quickly I realized that definitely having the knowledge or the corporate background from the US is definitely essential as a company secretary when we have to work with these companies. Then that motivated me to research more and apply for the universities abroad. And being a lawyer in India and a company secretary, then I got the opportunity to study, to do my master's in Temple University in Philadelphia. then that actually allowed me to take the New York bar. Then that was my motivation to come to the US to get exposed. And of course, I always felt like any other Indian that I have to go back and start working in India. But again, the series of events, the opportunities that I got motivated to actually start my practice here. And it's been 20 years that I've been practicing in the US. And I practice in corporate mobility and immigration. So immigration is more relevant for individuals that we all think. But in this world, then that's what I said, that as company secretaries, we get more opportunities based on the globalization, the true globalization that we see at this point. So I also work in corporate mobility. So it's similar to the immigration for the individuals. Now we see corporations and businesses actually immigrating to various countries, right? So I also work in that space, which also involves employment-based immigration for the people. So that's one of the areas that we all have to actually focus. And probably in the corporate governance, we have tremendous opportunities in the US and even in the world. And again, adding more specific education qualifications or expertise in the countries that we wanted to practice would enhance our opportunities. And that has to be carefully researched. And of course, as the USA chapter, our goal is also to add on those affiliations the way that the Institute is doing with different countries. Then we wanted to explore, have those affiliations in the US, so that way our profession is recognized, or at least get some credit so that we can enhance our career opportunities.
Thank you, Praveen. I think you are trying to say that we have to come out of the comfort zone, explore the new possibilities.
Definitely.
I think you're doing a wonderful job in this immigration field and corporate mobility. I think this is a new area where you are concentrating. Thank you for that. So now over to Lakshmi Mittal. CS Lakshmi Mittal, please. Your opening remarks.
Thank you. Namaste, everyone, and good morning from United States. So, like Renuka and Praveen both has like impressive background, but my background is very, very diverse. I kept on doing very different things. So definitely you'll get some input from my talk too. So today is when there is already, we are in the world of globalization. When things are accessible, everything, there is a lot of uniformities coming even in the cross-border laws and contract laws, and many international organization is working on syncing business laws in such a way that the countries may transact to each other. In that scenario, if we are talking about the CS opportunities in the United States, this is definitely, there are the opportunities, but I would like to say those are not like very direct things here, because you would come here and you would present yourself. I'm a company secretary from India, maybe with the knowledge of the people in the United States, they would not be able to appreciate it in the way it should be appreciated. It is very, very hard to believe for them that this is the kind of the course where there are the legal studies, where there is the economics study, where there is the environmental studies, good portion of the accounting and finance. So I do not see any other profession where are these kind of exposure a person get, and they get so much accomplished with the knowledge of the corporate world that they can be used by the various industry for many things, for their departments and for their globalization and for working in the different countries. Because basically, if CS comes to United States and works for even the MNC companies, so they can just not help the people in corporate governance or board activities or investors activities or the production activities or financing activities, just not in terms of the United States, but in terms of the other countries also where that particular corporate is active. So our knowledge, being a company secretary, makes us so versatile so that we quickly learn the other things, adapt the things. But this is the skill what we need to show up to the people here. We cannot just say that my qualification is I'm associate member of the company secretary or a fellow membership of the company secretary. We need to show up like what we know, where we are accomplished, what are the courses we read. And just not the read here, I would like to say, like, highlight your experience, what you worked. And I know, and I heard people, they would amazed to see like, oh, one person can do so much. Actually, it is not actually possible in outside world. And I have actually seriously not seen any other qualification which has so much of diversification. So this is very well appreciated. But to get it appreciated, we need to know how we have to show up, how we have to reflect it. So in our resume, in our talk, in our networking, we need to show it up. We need to show our strong foot and a strong arm, like what we did. I am totally understand if one person is very good in finance, they are generally not very good in legal. So if they are putting leg outside of their country and they are not very knowledgeable about how the things work in that country, so I would say that put forward your leg, which is very strong. Like if you are good with the accounts, get the mastery, get the hold on that. Show the people your skill. If you're showing the skill, you are sellable in the market. You would have like more and more value in the market. So a degree works, your education works, and it's always advisable that you take certain supporting degree in the country where you go. But you also, with the degree, you also need to show what you have already learned. When I moved to United States, I had already worked for a good amount of 15 years. So I already had some base. And that was definitely very, very challenging for me. Like, how would I establish here? How would I make myself recognized here? Because the 15 years were like first 5 years, I was just roaming around. People did not know me. And then I started getting my face value with the office of the ROC, regional director, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and in the courts. And then after I am moving from there, so that all face value is going, but I know how to uphold on that, how to make that kind of networking. This was my level of knowledge maturity, actually. That gave me the platform to station my foreign knowledge over it. I did my college here, I master degree here, and that actually gave me a boost. Like when you go to the university in any country, that does not give you just a knowledge or qualification. That gives you a knowledge of culture. That gives you a knowledge of society. That gives you a knowledge of many soft skills, what you have to use in that country to make your career there. And where you start analyzing, like whether this country is a good fit for you or not. Not for everyone, every country is a good fit. You have to learn what's the standard and what's the culture. A culture does include society culture as well as business culture. Business culture is also different from country to country. So while they are studying or while they are in university, that gives them a place where they can analyze whether it is a good fit for them or not, and then they can decide like whether they want to work here or whether they want to go back. As the Praveen said, like while doing this part of work in his career, he kept on getting more and more opportunities, and he decided to remain here. And the same thing happened with me. When I studied here, I started learning about the society. I cannot tell you like very small thing. I used to like surprise people can do like this. How does it happen? Even in the business, even in the family. And then quickly I started adapting, and my adaptability was good. So I could retain here. I am kept growing here, but that totally depends upon the person. So I'll keep other things. I have a lot of things to share. I'll reserve those of things when we will be discussing further.
Great.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Dr.
Thank you, Lakshmi, for sharing your journey from India to US, and of course how you are able to establish yourself over there over a period of time. And the important thing what you referred was to understand the business culture over there, the society as such, and soft skills. I think there was one important thing which you touched upon. A company secretary being a multifaceted personality, like having studied the finance, accounts, costing, labor laws, and corporate laws, and other things. The book knowledge has to be transformed into execution. I think that is the point what you have drive home the point. I think it's good that you have shared your experience as such. Now, having completed the initial opening remarks by all of you, I expect the other participants who are logged in from India and other places to post their questions, if any, in the chat box, so that the same can be asked to one of the panelists for their response. Now, I have a couple of questions for all of you, for which I think you can start responding to that, please. The first question what I wish to pose is, what are the professional development activities that helped you in your professional and personal success? This question is for all three of you, please. Over to Renuka first to start with.
Sure. That's a good segue from the soft skill that we just learned and getting into what other activities that you can do. One thing I would highly recommend everybody is to do smart networking. Networking is a big thing. Smart networking is bigger than that. So what's the difference? That's what personally, I have segregated that. So networking is just meeting people. If your profession, it's good. Definitely positively good. But smart networking, what does that mean? Identifying which groups to join, which affiliations will help you, where you would be able to get connections. Say, for example, if you are a transactional corporate lawyer and you're going to an event which is only litigation focused, they may not be of any interest to you, or you may be still interested, but the other side whom you're going to meet may not be really caring about you because they may not get anything out of you, or their thought process. They may be talking about which cases happened recently. The Supreme Court cases will be discussed, and I will be like, I have no idea. What do I do now? Then you are a misfit in that networking. That doesn't mean that you don't know to network. It's just that not that forum. So you should not stop right there. You figured it out, move on. Keep finding out your areas where you would be able to work. And that definitely helps a lot. With respect to affiliations, I am actually on the board of Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Association. I'm the DEI chair for the Ohio Women's Bar Association. So having these associations have definitely improved my network, because unlike in India, where everybody does calls and say, hey, I know somebody, can you help me? And then that somebody just connects you to somebody, that the flow of trust is pretty good and fast. You don't need to meet personally. You don't need to physically go into a networking setup and talk and meet and do things. So that is because, one, our culture heavily rely on our culture, where people talk about, everybody knows about everybody. In general, they have a feeling about each group of set of people, how they work, how they function. But in the US, it's not necessarily true. There might be smaller pockets like that way. But to get to that smaller pockets, you need to go to the wider base, then taper your interests and kind of go into that core group where you would be able to do the exact same thing what you used to do in India. So that is one thing that I would recommend everybody to focus on, is join meetings, join the various groups. You may not realize which one is the correct one in the first round or the second round or the fifth round. I have been attending events like first 2 years when I joined, in 3 years, I think, any meeting, sure, I'm available. I will be available, I'll show up. Showing up is the first thing to success. Anytime you tell anybody you're going to show up on time. So that gives you the first step to being credentialed, to being trustworthy, to being everything that you are, kind of moving in that path. So that is something I would recommend everybody. So affiliations is some of these professional groups you can join. For example, you can join Society of Corporate Governance or anything that specifically interests you. Like initially we discussed about your core group, core strength. So if you think financial, being a CPA or doing something specific to that area would help you, you can join that group. You can attend these meetings. Every state has, every group has their own location. They do meet in person. So you can work smaller steps to a larger goal. And the second aspect of skill set that you will have to develop would be patience. Unfortunately, how much ever it is said, it's patience is key to success. It is definitely positively correct in this case, at least when you come to the US, because you're, even though you're all qualified, you know exactly what corporate governance mean, you know how to file forms, you know how to do, but even then, the recognition aspect of it doesn't come out very easily unless you are working for an Indian company affiliated in US or something, some connection that that person who is hiring you knows exactly what company secretary in India means. Because here the term company secretary is very casual. It's not specific. It's more like an executive assistant kind of a position. So that's why I really enjoyed when we actually changed our focus to corporate governance. Like the institute itself started rebranding itself into corporate governance aspect and started working on it. That was an excellent move, I would say, where we are able to build on that. When we go now outside to other places, we can call ourselves, we are corporate governance experts from India or something like that. That helps us to, like Lakshmi was mentioning about how you can market your skill set. So these are some of the areas and some ways you can do that and keep growing. You can always work on nonprofit is another area that I highly recommend people if you're interested in. Is there any specific cause that you're interested in? Join that group, work towards that people. That's also another way of connecting to people. So always networking doesn't mean you need to get a job. You have to go with an open mind. Don't think about job or anything. No, every time it's not quid pro quo, or every time it's not necessary that I give so I get something. It can be just give for first few years. Then at some point it might reap you the benefits. I would pause here so that I'll give my colleagues to opportunity to talk as well.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Renuka. Over to Praveen, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Renuka. Great insights. That's a great introduction to start a new career or a new area for someone who is looking into exploring opportunities. So I'll actually take this in two parts, Dwarkanathji. The first part, I would enhance again what Lakshmi ji was mentioning. As a company secretary, we have multi-faced skills, and take this as a springboard. Okay, then whoever is qualified as a company secretary is always equipped with a lot of these skills. That's been the foundation of my practice. That's been the foundation of my career journey as like anybody else. So it gives you a lot of strengths, a lot of insights. But again, the second part would be to choose your career path, right? Because you have so many things into this. Then obviously you need to have your own niche. So I choose to be a lawyer. I choose to be in the legal field, in the governance, and the challenges in the legal field are always motivated. In the similar way, somebody might have got exposed to finance. Somebody might have got exposed to different aspects of the things that we get. And choosing your career path and choosing your strength, choosing your passion is always the first step in this journey. And of course, connecting and researching, and especially if you're exploring opportunities abroad, you need to actually know where you fit into, where you actually want to have your passion explored. So that's the key for the whole thing. So again, unlike any other professions where it's very narrowed down or focused, being a chartered secretary, being a company secretary, it opens up enormous opportunities for all of us. Then that's been my experience. Whatever I am today, I am always grateful for the institute, for the knowledge, for the training that I always got. Even though we always study within our own groups, within our own chapters individually, not like a reputed MBA college or something, but the knowledge on the expertise or the exposure that we get is nothing less than any big university or big branded courses that people do, because the depth of the subjects that we touch and the areas that we gain knowledge in are enormous. But again, the key for all of us to take this forward is by recognizing our own niche. You cannot be a master of everything there. So from there, take this as a springboard. And especially if you're exploring opportunities abroad, then what is your niche? Where is that that you want to work in? I know company secretaries who actually work in IT these days, and IT has enormous opportunities even for company secretaries. Many of you might be surprised to understand this, right? But yes, data privacy, if you actually see the data privacy as a big subject, then you have enormous opportunities, and our knowledge helps us to even explore opportunities there. In healthcare, we actually see a lot of challenges in healthcare these days. Healthcare and IP, healthcare compliances, it's a huge subject by itself. And our knowledge and background definitely helps us explore those opportunities too. But adding up qualifications which help us actually enter into those areas is very important. So you need to research on those things and explore and try to get more knowledge, and taking company secretary as a base. If you actually do that, I think that would enhance your opportunities. And of course, the fundamentals of networking and knowing people and sharing the knowledge is also key for all of us to take the advantage from each other's experiences. That's how I feel. And I'll have Lakshmi ji share her thoughts on this.
Thank you, Praveen. So most of the point has been shared by Renuka and Praveen, and I have actually affirmed with all those points. Definitely, like when I started working, I have been told like that with my seniors and mentors, like, take up the work, do whatever is coming to you. You need to work, you need to show up. But with the experience, the definition of these things changed. And these have changed, I think, for India too, but overseas, it is very different. If you have to establish, you want to make yourself known by doing particular something, you have to be a little specific and consistent. Just every day I hear these kind of stories from people, like he came to United States and became very successful within 6 months, and he has this and that within 1 year of time. That is true. That this happens, but this doesn't happen with everyone. Those are the successful stories. Those are attractive, alluring, but you have to focus and be consistent with your efforts. It might happen to you in like 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, but those people were very lucky. Those people got very good chances. But if you are coming, just do not get discouraged that I did not get rich in 6 months or 1 year of time. So it happens. You have to be consistent. You have to be focused. But if you are focusing on one particular area, for example, you are just choosing an insurance industry or just a mortgage industry, where because of the company secretary, you have niche that you understand how the things work, you can do better calculation, you can do better agreements, and you can do better negotiation. So you are very consistent with that. People know you, yet you are the person who would do the best negotiation, and you would be able to tell them all the risk factor in the agreement. So you would be very well recognized with that. But if with that, you are doing family law or you are doing something else which is totally unrelated to that, that might take little more time for you to establish. So just to earn the name and fame and to establish yourself professionally, this is what I was referring to. Just see if you are good into some particular aspect of the things. I know the company secretary, they come here and because they have a good knowledge of the laws, accounting, taxations, they right away go into the business. They start one business and they start growing more into that. So this is what we are not directly using our qualification that we are representing ourselves to everybody, like I'm a company secretary and I'm a company secretary, but what we are doing and what our earning capacity is coming to me is because of my qualification. So if you are overseas and in the country such where your qualification is directly not recognized, then this is the best footing that whatever we have learned, whatever we have acquired, we are using it for the purpose we are doing. When I got my certification evaluated, they categorized into law, finance, corporate governance, and taxation. So it is a very wide. And I am very, very sure whoever is company secretary, they are very good in at least one thing or more than one thing. And if you identify where you are very good at, just choose that and be consistent, be focused without caring of like it's 1 year time or whom I am knowing, whom I am not knowing, and what deals I am getting, what kind of project I am getting, but be consistent. One day you would definitely be achieving your goal by doing that. And so far as networking is concerned, as of now, the time has changed a lot. If you will talk about 10-year-old, there were not that many organizations, not that many Indian community. If now today, if you will see, if particularly we talk about the United States, there are a huge Indian community. Embassy is supporting us a lot. Embassy has a different section for the people who are doing business, CII. So they are the chambers who do businesses with the India and US. You can get a lot of list. You can get a lot of support. It was not true 10 years before. So if you will hear from the people who came here at that time, they struggled a lot in comparison to what a person struggled when they moved today. They have enormous opportunity, but availing of those enormous opportunity is also an art. So not just like opportunities are all the way, and this is actually called a land of opportunity, United States. But how you are going and in what direction you are going, how you are availing, that matters. How much time you consume to establish yourself as a professional here. When we are not in our country, see, when we grow up in India, we see all the way. We see our neighbors, we see our friends, we see our family, how they are behaving, how they live, what is the culture. But when you're moving to United States, we have to have very open outlook. Gender equality is very different here. We are not like every time, we do not deal the women the same way we used to deal in India. If you will have to have developed this different kind of respect, different kind of, in a business or in the office, different kind of coherent with your team working, your time management. I lost one very good job because I reached for the interview 5 minutes late. And he opted that, sorry, we would not allow you to have this interview. And I was very new from India at that time. And I thought, look, if 5 minutes, it was just a traffic issue and this issue and that issue. Say, whatever, you should have started earlier. We would not appreciate that. And it's not actually a good thing to talk on this platform, but even I'm just telling you because I know from this talk, many people can learn. It was my mistake. I reached 5 minutes late and he did not allow me for that interview. And that was a very good job. And that has taken a good thrust to my career. And just because of my little bad habit, I could not get it. So these things happen. So we need to change certain way because we have to grab. So we have to be proactive. We know our skill for critical thinking, analysis, which I assume and I have seen we have a very good skill when we do company secretary, dealing with so many things, our comprehensive course structure. We develop this skill. When we do our case studies, we apply all our critical thinking, analysis. My analysis when I was in law school was always stronger than the other people who came from different countries. And this is why I'm assuming, because I have a lot of exposure. I have a lot that I would give credit to my exposure and my institute and the way that my country functioned. So I could learn so much. If you will give me one case, I will give you so many aspects which would actually be not very much possible for people who have lived here, because they have not been exposed too much. It's not an intelligence. Many things you learn from the experience. And I think we are rich in experience. We need to mold them in a correct way so we can use it for the growth of our profession here. So if instead of just saying I'm consistent, like I'm an environmentalist, like I know the environmental law and preserving the environment, I have a lot of schemes for the water preservation, soil conservation, and I'm consistently working for that, and I'm showing my skill for that. I would be successful. People will know me for that my skill. So this is I would like to share this piece of information with all of you. Yeah.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Now I have a specific question to Mr. Praveen. Can you explain share potential career opportunities for the company secretaries from India with or without a degree in law in USA?
So again, as we are all discussing on the career opportunities and the opening up the markets that we have seen since last 20 years, now we are realizing a true potential for a company secretary to serve in various fields, and especially in the US. Personally, because I work with many corporations, then I see opportunities for us to be in consulting, in actually doing a lot of compliance services, governance services. So we can be an outsourced compliance officer or a compliance manager, right, for many corporations, for many organizations. And again, Renuka also mentioned about for the nonprofits. So there's a lot of opportunity for that. And we see the value for a company secretary or as a chartered governance professional or a corporate governance professional. We can actually work in those fields, and we can be a corporate governance specialist. We can term ourselves as a corporate governance specialist to market ourselves into that particular field. And into the risk management, Lakshmi already mentioned about it, into the risk management in insurances, in other areas. And I've also mentioned about data privacy, right? There are organizations now, data is huge because we use people's data in doing the businesses. This was not there. Probably you heard of oil companies extracting oil, exploring oil to sell the oil, right? Now these days, we actually extract data to sell the data. So then it's a huge area, right? So it's a raw material by itself. So there's a huge area in data privacy and governance that we all can actually include. And enhancing, of course, just exploring these opportunities itself is not something that we can gain anything, but adding the qualifications, adding the expertise, adding the training into that particular segment would help all of us. For example, health and IP is a big area. The health and IP, there are several compliances that we all follow, not just in the US, but globally, worldwide, that we are all aware of it at this point, which was not there earlier. So as corporate governance professionals, we always can actually enhance our knowledge and provide services into healthcare compliances. And healthcare and IP is an interesting area at this point, because based on AI and other new emerging areas, the data in healthcare is being used for different things. And there is an IP involved in it. And whose data is that? And how can we help corporations to protect the data? right? So these are the areas, some of the areas that we all can explore. And even financial services sector, we have governance opportunities in financial services sectors. And of course, startup and tech companies, that's a huge area again, for all of us to include and provide our expertise. So even consulting, as a matter of fact, even just sitting in India, there's always an opportunity for us to provide services into these areas is always what I have realized. And in fact, we do certain things in that fashion. So, but branding ourselves, providing that kind of outlook would definitely enhance opportunities for a company secretary.
Thank you, Praveen. My next question is to Ms. Renuka Raman. What are the skill sets that are required for a company secretary to develop for transitioning career?
Sure. I think this is a follow-up question from the previous one. We did touch upon some of the soft skills that we spoke earlier. A couple of things I would add to those skill set is one was already spoken items were networking. The second item was patience, having the patience to work through the process. And the third one was about developing a skill set that is specifically markets to the area that you are looking to grow into. So these are some of the basic skill sets. So before even we go to the basic skill set, knowing your market is a key to success, I would say, because when you come here, the markets in the US is completely different. Like I mentioned earlier, here we have every state is kind of a country, if you want to be saying that way, because they have their own state laws, they have their own criminal procedure code, civil procedure code, civil criminal laws, company corporation laws, formation laws, everything is separate in a state. So when I came in here, I'm like, okay, I just get a license, right? It was not that simple. We had to like do more research. I had to personally research to see which state a foreign lawyer is allowed to practice. So for not all states allow, that's another area. So making sure that when you come here, don't go to that states if you want to practice law. You can go to that state if you want to practice something else because you won't be allowed to practice. So that was a huge one. So that kind of narrowed my whole research into certain areas which are allowed me to practice. So building that skill set to research on location when you come here is primary skill set one has to develop. This is not easy because India, the laws, the way India law functions is we do have separation of powers. We do have a central government and a state government, which is very similar to our US system, which is central, we call it federal, and then state is state, right? But then in India, when you look at the way it is functioning, central has more powers. It keeps all the states connected in a more organized manner. Whereas in the US, it is not true because federal has only certain powers relating to interstate laws or anything of national importance, like immigration, for example. So if you want to practice law in immigration, you can live in any state and still practice because you're only practicing federal laws. But when you come to practice on corporate law specifically, then your state-specific laws have to come into play. I was like, okay, what do I do? So just take a license. Okay, which state? Then there is a huge list of states that comes out and you're like, I don't understand a word of what that means at that point. I'm looking and looking and looking, and then finally I say, okay, let me see. I am living right now in Ohio. Let me look only for Ohio, then I'll expand. And then that was my step one. And then I'm like, okay, I know at least I'm going to live here for 5 years. So start with that. So research can be vast. Nowadays, internet information is available so much that how to use information is a skill set to develop. Like you already have ChatGPT. You don't have to even do anything. You can just put your essay, just prints in that. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. But knowing to use the technology to your advantage is a separate skill set. For example, you can still use your building your resume with AI chat, with some sort of an AI where you can curate the way we wanted to develop our skill set, soft skill set, which was basically to say I'm a corporate governance expert, right? That was the one which we said CS provides me. So that platform helps us to translate that information. Beyond that, up to you to believe in that, up to you to prepare for that whole set. Just by writing in the resume doesn't get you that far. The way you need to also slightly adapt yourself, I would say, would be on your speaking abilities. Somehow in India, we have a tendency to speak very fast. It has been unknowingly imbibed in us. Maybe it's because of the time that we take or very short periods of attention that we have with everybody, that we need to speak fast or convey our message quickly. Those are good ones, but you should know when to use that, because when you come to the US, it has a different style of presenting yourself, different style of talking. So some of these aspects, if you're able to learn as you grow, would be another area of that will provide you additional support as you build on your growth and career in that front. So I did my bar license in Ohio. Then 2 years, I was practicing as a solo practitioner, trying to get clients. That's when I joined the Bar Association. I kept meeting with everybody. Anybody would ask me for a meeting, I would say, sure, what time and where. That's how I was roaming around all of Cleveland. I would have gone from east to west, the entire city. I was like painting the town red, with kind of making sure I get the support, I get to meet people. So you need to be out there. That is the most important thing, is to let go of your fear in some ways, because you're in a new country. I don't know many things. It's okay. Everybody doesn't come knowing it. So that's why you need to meet people to say, hey, I don't know XY things. Can you help me with these things? How did you navigate? How did your journey come up through? So I can learn something from you. If you go with that approach, everybody would be willing to meet with you. Have specific questions. How to ask a question is another skill set, or an important one, to make sure you get it. Because if you just ask, what do you do? People will just respond, what do you do? But if you ask them, how did you reach where you are right now? It's a completely different, it's the same question. The outcome is the same, that I am a corporate counsel of XYZ company. But your answer for the first question is one sentence, and the second question is an hour discussion. So those are some of the skills and some of the items that you need to keep on learning as you grow. I wouldn't say I have become an expert. I'm still learning. Still, there is a lot of things to learn on that front. And those are some things that I would highly recommend everybody to start thinking, at least, if not really doing it. Because first step to any growth is think. Your thoughts convert into actions at some point. So that is what I would recommend everybody should start working on that parallelly as you keep growing your successful paths in studies. Yes, you need to study. No doubt on that. No, nothing comes out without hard work, right? Everybody has to come here, do some sort of certification, some sort of course. If you want to do LLB or LLB, if you're an LLB there, you want to practice here as a lawyer, you need to do some program, either a master's degree or a JD program. All those things are pattern research. Part of it comes into play in terms of what you want to do. The second part is this parallelly, if you're able to develop this aspect of it, both together will marry at some point, and that will define your success.
Yeah, I think that's great. And, yeah. And I wanted to add to what Renuka was mentioning. The framework itself, when you are actually mentioning about the key framework, that how we can include ourselves into the governance area in the US, I think the governance framework is really broad in the US. So basically, we are exposed to certain acts with the existing laws here, that the Sarbanes-Oxley Act that we always talk about, and the Dodd-Frank Act, Then we also have the SEC regulations that's similar to the SEBI that we have in India. Then the corporate laws itself are different because, as Renuka mentioned, that it's state specific. The corporate laws are not federal; they are state specific. So, with certain variations from each state, you actually get to navigate through those. And having an exposure and trying to learn those things are the broad things that we all have to adopt. Then, of course, any acts which are federal acts which are governing the corporations, and especially for multinational companies, those are important. So these are the areas that we need to research on, then attain some education expertise into it, and of course, adding your experience, the background that we have, the strengths we have as corporate professionals would definitely enhance our career opportunities here.
Thank you. See, roughly around 70 questions were received from the participants. We have shortlisted to around 10, 12. Maybe it is open for any of you to answer those questions. I'll start putting questions one by one. The first question, what is the equivalent of ICSI in the USA?
So I'll take that. So
Yeah, please.
there is, right, the ICSI stands for our institute, right? So there is no institute as such in the US which is coming in force with an act of the Congress or something. So versus ICSI, where we came into existence with an act of law, right, of Parliament. So then it's an education system which actually gives us entry into this profession. Mostly lawyers, attorneys would actually work as corporate governance professionals or general counsels for a company who are in charge for the day-to-day compliances, including any regulatory affairs. So that's, I think the license to practice here in the US would be an entry which is probably equivalent, which has a similar kind of authority. I think you all can add, Renuka and Lakshmi, if you agree with me.
I totally agree on that, and it's a good summary on how it is set up here. Especially, there's one more question I just scrolled through and said, how different are corporate laws in the US compared to Indian laws, was one of the questions posed. I can just weave into this particular one, and here is basically every state can govern heavily or less. So, for example, if you take Delaware, the company laws there for the filing requirements or any of those items are very limited and low profile, very high, low maintenance in some of them. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of foreign corporations file in Delaware as a registered entity, because there is no requirement to do a regular filing on a laundry list of items, only 3 filings, and that's it, closed. Whereas when you look at other states, maybe Ohio or New York, there may be some additional filing requirements on how that is set up, additional requirements of compulsory president, compulsory secretary, compulsory treasurer. Some of these may be forced under the act for having them in present. So those aspects of company law may be similarly transferred, but when you come to the state laws, it kind of varies in a different way. Unlike in India, where it's heavily governed by law, here the governance aspect by law is very limited. You don't need too many filings. You'll be very casual. And all these filings are very simple, online filings, anybody can do. It's not very intense. Like sometimes in India we have very intense form filing requirements, whereas in here you may not have that. You want to add something, Praveen, there?
Lakshmi, I think you can.
Okay.
Yes, actually, there is if you are like a foreign company and you are registering in Delaware, you can just appoint a resident agent there, and it's cost you like hardly $50 for entire year, and they receives the document on your behalf, and they deal with your banking requirement, and you need not to establish even an office here, just like you are renting place or having an office or showing your jurisdiction. So you can just establish your jurisdiction by registering and appointing a registered agent here who would be dealing you on your behalf. So I know we are talking about the opportunity here in United States, but I see a few questions, and I would like to say here the career opportunity in the United States could be personally being in the United States and just being in India, and you have career opportunity here, both ways. So if you are not even entering into the border of the United States, there are so many things you can operate from the by sitting it in India. And if you're just targeting to have some kind of alliance business or work in United States and you're sitting in India, even many law firms, they open their backup office in India. And those backup offices are working all the legal compliances thing and using technology and software and filing documents just by sitting in India and charging their invoices in dollars from the United States. So that's totally depends on the objective of the person, what they are looking. They want to be in the territory of the United States, or they just want to have more opportunity of doing work and business and earn money being here. So with the time I can share, and I am reading actually the question number 2, and they are asking what is the eligibility criteria for the CS for the India to work in the US, and what are the entry barriers to come to the US and start practice. So far as eligibility is concerned, that is your knowledge. And if you have, there are the two kind of things here, the employment based or family based. Either you take some employment, and for your benefit, I would like to say here, if you are looking for the employment, you can search some keywords like compliance manager. A lot of opportunities of the compliance manager are there in the banking field, or something. If you are good in finances, that finance could be used as a keyword to search for the jobs. And if the job description matches with what of your experience, you can keep applying for those jobs. Some contract specialist or contract management, or if you're good in merger and acquisition, you can do some acquisition analyst. And if you are good in IP, you can look for the jobs in intellectual property. Or you can look for the jobs for the paralegals. You can look for the job for general manager kind of thing, where the person manages all the compliance related thing, most of the things, and a little bit part of the finances. So if you keep searching for these kind of jobs and you apply them, the companies or corporates or law firms which are ready to sponsor your visa, so that you may try. That's the criteria I can mention. And for the immigration, maybe Praveen may highlight more on immigration part. But and if you're moving with the family, then it's an entire different scenario. You have to look for a lot of interest with moving for the family, like whether your family would be well accommodated and all their interest also solve the purposes or not. Another thing.
So, Lakshmi, I think when we are asked about this question, eligibility criteria, right? So what's the eligibility criteria for the CS from India to get work in the US, right? So the eligibility criteria, again, we are just going back to the same points that we all summarized, that of course, having the CS qualification itself, just take it as a springboard, okay? It's not a qualification probably can replicate here because the laws are different, obviously, right? So then you cannot be a compliance manager of a company here in the US unless you have learned about the laws here. Then how would you do that? Probably attending the education here is the primary thing. Doing certain courses which are relevant to become a corporate governance professional in the US is relevant. So you need to research on those things. You need to just pick up those things. So that's the eligibility criteria. So we can be a chartered governance professional. We can be a corporate secretary. We can be a company secretary in India because we are well versed with the laws in India, but not in any other country probably. So adding those education qualifications would enhance your opportunities. That's the eligibility criteria probably we are all talking about.
Yeah, you're right, Praveen. And I should have mentioned here that when you are seeing, so I saw a few of my colleagues, they took a job in the compliance when the US company, they had offices in India, and they were keeping their like subsidiary compliances or their holding companies in the India, and they are doing some compliances with that. So they took the people, those kind of profile as a compliance for that particular stream, particular branch, like when the India is associated. So yes,
Those are,
if
yeah,
there,
those are,
if you find a company which has a branch office or subsidiary or holding company in India for that particular part of the compliances, you can apply for that jobs. But those are very specific and very limited.
There is one interesting question that has been posed by one of the participants. Like, in India, under the Companies Act, we have mandatory appointment of a company secretary, for example, if the capital is 10 crores and above. Whether such kind of threshold is there in the US laws, that is the question that has been posed.
right. There is no requirement as such here to appoint a company secretary mandatorily by law. But again, governance being the important aspect of any company, right? That includes any listed companies. So usually you have legal departments, attorneys, or general counsels who take care of those regulations. And that's probably mandated by the business, mandated by the requirement more than law here.
So I think to add to that, SEC provides certain requirements for listed entities, public listed entities, and that's where the mandate sort of may be flowing into it. The other aspect of mandate may flow is under the company laws of particular state. A particular state may require a secretary to be appointed for all purposes. So that's where the mandate will flow in. But the follow-up question or the subsequent question with regards to requirement exams given by US for being a company secretary, answer may be answered in no. There is no specific requirement of a pre-qualification exam to become a company secretary. You need to know, it's more a knowledge test in general, along with your job profile that you may have incurred in the past, and that's how you get qualified to get to do that job. Here I would like to give you some additional background on since we touched upon the legal department and companies and corporations. I would like to give a little bit expanded knowledge on that area in terms of how a company fits their legal department. Depending on the size of the company, a legal department in a corporation or a company can be as small as 5 or 3 to as big as 200. So if you look at companies, retail companies, some of the companies like Walmart or Home Depot, some of these companies, they have 200 lawyers in their legal department. So at that level, it's basically they in-house everything. Possibly your litigation has a separate team, workman's compensation is a separate team, insurance claims are a separate team. Then you have IP, which is intellectual property. That's another area that CS professions can definitely look into and consider expanding as becoming a trademark attorney or trademark license person, or some ways if you are looking to become one of the specialized after getting your master's degree in some, so you can use that as if you're an attorney, you want to work on that area. That's another one, because IP is federal law. So that's why you may not need to be going in state specific rules and regulations, and you can work from anywhere, like how you can work on immigration laws. The other departments would go back into real estate if you are in retail business, because buying and selling number of stores, managing the stores is kind of a big thing. The other compliance is another department in itself where we can have at least 10 people working on various compliances. It can be, if it's a manufacturing company, there will be manufacturing list of things, import compliance, export compliance. Then you have SEC compliance if it's a listed entity. So that's the flow of, and then commercial contract is the biggest one. And then the recent ones we have seen in the past is like having a privacy team in itself. So there is a huge requirement for privacy attorneys in general, where they are creating a different area in itself. The last bucket I would say is some companies who are heavily dependent on AI, which is artificial intelligence. They are working to get their smaller team there as well for AI governance. So these are some of the areas where any of these areas, if you think you can fit in yourself, you can look into those areas. Biggest thing for practicing law in US is getting a license. So that is why if you look at Praveen or look at myself, we have state licenses. I have license in New York as well. So going in, getting those licenses in place gives you more flexibility, gives you more wide range of activities or areas of interest that you can choose from to become taking your path. If you choose not to go in that path, there's always this other areas like we talked about CPA, and previously there was a discussion about getting specialization in accountancy, getting specialization in some sort of privacy area, because sometimes privacy knowledge of getting those certifications is sufficient for some companies. Some of the companies are not large enough to hold it, so they will have you as a consultant. So there are these privacy consultants that are becoming in a new area of, so they don't hire you on an ongoing basis, but for specific issue-based consulting that they do, or they will keep you as a retainer in that space so that you can keep asking multiple questions. If you look at the current scenario in the US, there are about 18 states. Everything is state specific. So privacy laws are also state specific. So every state is defining their own privacy laws and their own bucket. They don't have a federal centralized law as like in India. We do have a DPDPA Act, which is there, which governs the whole of India, which gives you a whole perspective of how data should be treated, how data should be protected within the entire country. Whereas when you come to the US, California has different, Minnesota has different, Ohio has different. Ohio actually has not even passed any specific privacy laws. So that is open right now. And then federal also is trying to create an overarching act, so to say, for all the states. So that is a like sort of a tug of war in some ways, because the states don't want to give up their rights. Central wants to impose on top of them. So they are always like, which laws will govern, how we will plan it out. It's all open. So these are all opportunities for ourselves to blend in, go into these areas, explore and see how that can work. So that's helps. I hope I helped answer a few of the questions. I don't know, Dwarkaji, go ahead and see if something is
I have two questions parallelly for Praveen. One, what are the immigration options for Canadian citizens in US? That is question number one. The question number two is, what should be the plan of action for H4 residents?
Right. So for Canadian citizens, for them to work here, then again, there are very limited options for them to come here on a TN visa. That's with an agreement with Canadian government that US would allow Canadian citizens to come and work in specified areas, not everywhere. But if you're trying to actually come in as a governance professional, I think that's not specifically recognized as one of those professions to come and work in the US, being a Canadian citizen. Then it depends on your other qualifications. So if you have a bachelor's degree in accounting, or if you are a financial analyst, probably those are the areas that you need to explore to come and work in the US. Or otherwise, you have to have a license as a lawyer to come and work as an attorney here. So I think that's a good opportunity for you. Then for someone who is on a H4, and obviously you need a work permit to work, then I think to start your career, probably getting into the school on a F1 visa would actually kickstart the opportunities, because you can add on to these qualifications, because just a CS would not actually provide any opportunities here. So you need to understand the laws here. You need to have certain qualifications which make you appropriate here, applicable for the US markets. So I think enhancing those would open up and the regular path of getting through the H-1B or any other work visa options might be helpful for you.
There is a lengthy question. Anybody can take it. What sort of bridge course can we do to grab a job with US companies in USA? How do you cope with visas, education differences, and lack of international experience? Issues to grab something substantial within the fierce competition.
I think the question was posed before any one of us summarized all these things. I think you should find an answer in that. But Lakshmi, please go ahead. I think that's...
I would like to summarize whatever we are talking in respect of these questions, and maybe both of you can also add on to my version to it. So basically, the company secretary area is taken over by majorly by two professions. Like either you go into law practice or you go as a CPA or financial analyst. If you find like your finance, you have to move ahead towards your financial part more. So go and take up the CPA exams or CFA exams. And if you have to come towards the law, and the law comprises not only just corporate and litigation practice, anti-money laundering, insurance industry, your like all kind of contract management, which is covered by the actually corporate practice, and all negotiation part, all cross-border transactions, and all our company's environmental laws, everything has been taken over by the law side. So legal side is actually quite wider, and there are so many parts which are like very unrelated and very wide. So you can choose that. If you are, you can see like what you are already doing and what is your stronger part and where you have to go ahead. And another part to that is also, as Renuka mentioned, like you have to decide like which part of the USA attracts you or where you want to come, because not every state or city is the same. If you are the culture, languages, accents are also different from state to state. So if once you decide like you have to move to the Massachusetts, Boston, you have to move to the Washington, DC, you have to come to the Ohio, Chicago, or California. So US is a very, very wide and big. In comparison to our India, like we are from the south to north, the culture is so much like changing, language is so much changing. So the same way here also, and here the worst part is that law is also changing. So things, the companies, how they behave, the state, how they act, and they preserve their own law, their own spirit, like how the things have to be done, from the transportation laws to everything, whatever happens in the state, they have certain independency, how they act on that. And they have their own constitution, their own Supreme Court for every state. So if you know, or first, in that case, what I come to know, like first you have to decide where you want to move. So if you know where you want to move, then you can see the opportunity, then you can see what area or what field you want to pursue, then you can see like big city or the small city. Not every person is good fit for big, not every person is good fit for small. Then we can see what kind of a small education you want to pursue, or you just right away want to get into the business, or what kind of job can be offered to you. So these kind of questions come from the checklist one by one, which you can start checking. So definitely it's it's a land of opportunity. There is a fierce competition, but that competition is lessened by your own personal qualities. You have to enhance your qualities. You have to just show up your skills and be consistent to that. And you should have a good plan in place. Then this is a good idea to just go forward. So I move it to all my rest of the colleagues.
Sure. One thing I would add to that would be connect with ICSI Overseas Center USA group. There are a lot of people who have done different career paths and they have worked in different areas. They will be able to provide, like I said before, you should be knowing to how to ask a question. If you're going to ask, can you give me a job? It's a hard answer because nobody can give you something like that. So instead of that, curate your questions, frame your questions in the manner in which you would be able to navigate your path. Like it will take some time. Sometimes it's like the Lakshmi had mentioned earlier, it might be a quick one. Sometimes it will take years to come and then you kind of figure out your way. Consistency is key. Keep doing it. Ask us. There are 50 members. Like I said at the beginning of the meeting, we had 7 members, founding members, of which one of them I was there in that. And then now we are into 50, which is a great growth in spite of pandemic of 2 years when we didn't do much activities. So work on these. I would also like to take this opportunity here to answer one of the questions that was posed, which asked specifically for me, which says, how does one can join these groups for networking, right? So here are the questions. Easy. First one, join ICSI group. Grow the membership because that is your forum of networking, the first step. You might get some of your first connects from there. You might make your first friend from one of those groups. I know for a fact that in California, I think 2 people became best friends in that group because they didn't know I have nowhere to go. Nobody knew about anything about CS, and then they just connected and then they got to become friends. So it can happen that support will help you grow emotionally as well as you transition your career paths in that direction. The other ways of looking at groups is LinkedIn. Use your LinkedIn groups, see what are the groups available in your area, see which one is of your interest, pick one of them, try to see you can join there directly on the LinkedIn or meet with some of them, write emails or messages and then asking specifically how can you use, what does that group mean to you or how that does go. Research and research would be my answer to all of them because there is ton of information, lot of smaller groups. US is very unique because they always have specializations in multiple things. It can be the niche of the niche. So basically, you can be a example of a specialized attorney would be he's a specialist only in buy side, only in sell side, only in pharma industry. And even in pharma, you can further say I'm only in genetics or something like that. So that narrow area is how everybody focuses here on working. So you are here in India, everything is generalized. And then all of a sudden you are asked to specialize in one thing. So how would you choose that path is a journey in itself in that sense. So if you like a bar, if you are interested in, let's say, law, join the local bar association. Go and meet with them. They are always welcoming and they always like to have support on that. Yes, you may have to spend some money there, but for students, most of the things, if you're joining as a student, it's free. Many of the opportunities open up just for meeting events. Go for these events where there are immigration community symposium or AI symposium. Mostly all the bar association give it for free for students. So if you are studying law, you can attend these events, see if that makes sense to you, see if that is something that you want to grow in. And then at some point it will occur to you that that is the path that I want to take. Go with that, find out your connect there. That's where your mentorship will help you. That's where the sponsorship comes into play. Like sponsorship doesn't mean financial sponsorship. This is more of a mentor expanded into a sponsor who recommends you to a particular position or who recommends you to a different type of group of set of people. So the network of who's who is where that's the whole area where it will grow. Have 3 or 4 mentors. It doesn't matter. You don't need to be fixated on one mentor. You can have one mentor for a particular thing, another one for another set of skill set. So that way you have like the band just keeps increasing and that kind of helps multifold at some point where you are able to build your own set of network to grow into. I hope I answered that question there. Any?
I have have a little thing to add here for the networking questions. So in American Bar Association, we have a international law section, and in international law section, we have one India committee. So in India committee, I am on the board of that committee, and I always encourage, and anybody can be a member of that committee, even who are practicing in India. So if you want to know more about how we are functioning here and what's going on between US-India transactions or the legal discussions upon that, so please be a member of that. It's like $25 is the fees if you're a student, just to be a member of that. And if otherwise it's $125 is annual fee to be a member of that. I'm just sharing if you are more interested knowing about the legal side of this profession more in United States.
One interesting question again, how we can update knowledge of governance framework of US? How frequently laws and regulations of US are amended as compared to India?
Right. So this is as common as what we see in India too, right? So it changes frequently, and that's what our forte is. That's what our expertise is, to follow them and do it. And what qualifications, I think that's what we've been all discussing on, then trying to actually get into the law school. Or there are certain specific certification courses. Even now, these days, universities are also offering a lot of certification courses in corporate governance. These are 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months courses that you all can actually research. There are several universities across the US who offer these certification courses. So that actually allows you to get introduced with the US laws, and probably that also allows you to start your networking journey from there, then explore more opportunities. Again, going to the law school is definitely a broader opportunity for all of us if you are getting into the legal side of the CS. But again, if you are going into the finance, then picking up any MBA in finance or anything, which gives you an entry into the US as an F1 student. I think that's the starting point. You cannot just come here with a work permit. That's difficult. So that would help you all.
Yeah, Praveen, I have one more question to you. Can you highlight more on health care compliance? This
Right.
possibilities.
Right. It's an interesting area that we have seen now, that healthcare compliance. And in fact, when we are talking about AI, right? So AI, we are all worried that how would that actually transform our work? Then how would the services would be affected because of the AI? Because looks like AI can do anything and everything, right? But again, even that, you actually find an opportunity. Because we are supposed to be there as governance professionals, even when somebody is using AI, right? How the AI is being implemented. That's the whole role, right? Otherwise, our understanding for the company secretaries is our opportunity for being a company secretary is to restrict ourselves to actually provide these compliances services for a company, and especially more for a listed company, but not anymore, because with the governance being the center of any business or any organization, then of course we find opportunities everywhere. Then for the healthcare professionals, healthcare compliances, then there is a healthcare policy law in the US that's more specific. If you have to pick up any courses into that, there are certification courses just for the healthcare policy. So if you actually can get that knowledge, then that actually leads you the opportunities into hospitals, into pharmaceutical industry, into various healthcare industries where compliances are very important. So probably that's how you can get into the healthcare area.
Lakshmi, I have one question to you. What are the key legal and regulatory frameworks that US corporate secretaries must navigate, and what are the key challenges faced by them?
So in the US, so compliances are definitely, the laws are different, compliances are different. The way we incorporate the company, we run the operation of the company, the fiduciary duties on the directors or on the shareholders, these are all towards the shareholders are all different. So the challenges are adaptability, like we should learn quickly, we should understand them quickly, and in what state we are there, we should learn like how the rules and regulation goes into that state, and what laws are federal, what laws are state, and how we are understanding them, and which we are actually well learned in our company secretary. We have these skills, but we have to comply in terms of our US state knowledge. But if you are straightforward coming from the India to practice that here, it is very much recommended to do certain educational qualification here. So that would give you the platform to have the better understanding. Interpretation and jurisprudence of the words sometimes is different, and sometimes it is different from cross-border too, like the way the single word is interpreted in India is not interpreted here. So if we are more acquainted with the culture and language here, it would be easier for us to understand the board culture, how the board meeting happens, what are the factors, how the board decide on something, some decision, what input they need. So if we are well acquainted with that, it would be very good for us to drafting and reporting and organizing the material in relation to that. Legal language, legal writing is also very different from India to United States. There are a certain aspect we need to understand, and certain system, certain writing skills, how we have to adopt, and how people want to see it on the document is different. Like when we are a company secretary and we see the resolution, we on the just face of it, just by looking at it, we understand what it wants to say, because we are very habitual of that particular language and we see it every day. The same way, there are the certain system, certain approach in the legal writing, what we acquire here. And that is what actually help us when we do certain education or certain training here. So by just looking at the document, we grab it and we understand it, what it wants to say, what it wants to reflect. So that is very, very important to understand. Can you, Dwarkaji, can you repeat? There was another part of your question too.
That's what's the key challenges faced, I think. How would you navigate and key challenges faced?
Yeah, so a key challenge is definitely this language writing is there, not actually understanding, because understanding grows very fast if we are a company secretary and we have some experience of working. So this kind of, if we are more habitual of reading the reports and writing, seeing how the boards are functioning by just reading the public documents available for the companies, by just downloading from the websites, which are all company websites are like publicly accessible here, like in India. So you can access the state's public records for the companies. You can download the document, you can start reading, and just seeing like what kind of vocabulary they uses, how they interpret the things, how the board is functioning. So that would be very helpful, and that would bridge some gap between the culture we adopted in India and we are doing in United States.
Great. And some of the challenges, as we all face everywhere, that updating the requirements, updating the guidelines, updating the regulations which are applicable for that particular industry. So again, each industry is different, and especially some industries are very fast moving. Then those areas become really challenging for us to cope up with and learn through. And it's more complex here in the US based on the structure that we have state laws, we have federal laws. Then also now the companies in the US would actually be more a global company operating in Europe or other countries. Then obviously those compliances are also something that we have to be looking into. So that becomes a challenge for a company secretary or a governance professional in the US.
Yeah, Praveen, you have one more question. Can you throw some light on different visa options available for CS professionals seeking to work in the US?
Right. CS professionals as such, for them to get a work permit, then probably we have, if you're working for a multinational company already in India and your company has a subsidiary or a holding company, if it's a holding company from the US, then you have an option to do an intra-company transfer called an L1, right? So being a manager, being into a managerial role in the Indian company, would allow you to actually transfer to the US company. That's an L1A visa. Then we have certain visas called an extraordinary ability visa, which is an O1. If you have some other qualifications in addition to being the CS, then probably that's something that can be explored in certain situations. Then H1B is another option where if there is a company who are looking for any services they sponsored, but again, they're very limited because you need to have qualifications in the US for those kind of positions for you to be sponsored, and especially you being an attorney or you being a professional here in the profession holding a license in the US. So I think those are the opportunities, but for attaining the education or to get certain qualifications, I think F1 is also a very good visa opportunity for you, which probably allows you to get a work permit for 1 year when you actually graduate in the US.
Next question to Renuka Madam. Can just having California bar membership but no US degree, like a JD or LLM, secure a job in the US?
It's a very broad question. If you are working in California, you might be able to find, if you got licensed in California, you can work in California. That would be the short answer. If you are looking to move around, then maybe not, because every state, for example, New York requires you to have 20 foreign law degree plus 24-hour credit and from an LLM program. So when you are moving into New York to practice, again, there is one other aspect of it, is you can do reciprocity. So within the states, they have reciprocity on getting the license. So if you're already a California bar licensed attorney practicing for 5 years or something, and then so you can get transferred into another state, that's one option. The second option would be in-house counsel. You're working only for a company, then you can get yourself registered as an in-house counsel in that another state, and then that can be another opportunity. But if you're just purely looking at company law or company law specific practice only outside of California without LLM, may be a little bit challenging. You may have to undergo some sort of additional courses if you want to do, if you don't qualify for reciprocity, if you don't qualify for in-house registered counsel, then the last option would be, yeah, you will have to study additionally in any other state if you're moving into. If you're not, if you're only in California, you got your bar license already, then probably you would be good if you get a
And
job.
of course, you should be able to practice any federal law in any state. So the federal laws are something that you can always practice. They are not state specific, and having a California license would allow you to practice any federal law, and which we will be more interested in, honestly, with the background that we have and the exposure that we have more strengths to actually practice in the federal laws.
Next question to Lakshmi Madam. Qualifying CGI UK, that is S12 ICSI UK, would be beneficial in US.
Yeah, this question, actually, the short answer is like, unlike UK, Canada, there is no equivalent qualification here, and those are not being recognized here. And I'm sorry to say, but many people here, they do not even know that these qualifications exist, even for the UK, not just ICSI. No, they are not even aware. So when I talk to them, they say, okay, so this is the profession, a separate profession? People are qualified for this kind of profile, this kind of job. So we need to make them learn about it. So this is not directly, it is not recognized. You just need to show what you know, what you learned, what are your core strengths, what are your you just have to highlight your experience and your knowledge, not the degree. So education is more important here, not the degree.
Okay, then there is one more question to you as well. What are the opportunities if CS has completed US CPA?
Yes, that's enormous, because CPA is a recognized professional in United States. And I know, like, being a CPA, people, even they are overseas, they work and they deal with the taxation aspect and the accounting aspect in the United States. So even if you are in India and you are CPA, you have been hired by a lot of multinational companies, or even if you are in any other country and you are CPA, you have a wider scope of having a job and having of work assignments here in the United States. So like CPA has a lot of authority to represent before the income tax officers here, to deal with them. And but at the stage when the matter goes to the court, so prevalently the tax attorneys, they take over those roles. But CPAs is very well recognized and very reputed profession here in the United States.
That's right.
Yeah, Praveen, you have one more question here. Without a job offer, can CS go abroad and search for opportunity? Then what will be the gestation period in such cases generally?
Right. So it's an interesting question, good question. For you to travel to the US, again, you can always come here on a business visa that is allowed for you to come here, explore opportunities. That's legal. But again, attaining education should be the appropriate step, probably, even for you to see any opportunity. So if you can actually get some education, get an F1 student visa, get admitted into a school, or of course, it need not be a full-time 2 years or a 3 years education. Even sometimes you might end up getting an F1 visa for 6 months of courses. So that might be really beneficial for you. And of course, you can always come here on a B1 visa, on a B2 visa, on a B1 business visa, and then explore opportunities.
Thank you. My next question to Renuka Madam. How can CS professional stay ahead of the curve and adapt to the evolving needs of US corporations?
Excellent question. A couple of things I would say is add to the pile of research, being updated, getting that knowledge in the area of where you're working would be good. So if you are an attorney, we have something called very similar to what we have in for ICSI, specific CLE credit, but we have CPA credits that we have in for CS. Similarly, we have it here for lawyers, which is continued legal education. And that's where I would say you can enhance your knowledge in the area of your expertise, specifically there. Then networking plus your research in the area that you want to grow are the other areas that you can actually expand yourself. Study new things if comes up. So I saw also one of the questions that can you become a paralegal? Can you be getting legal assistant jobs? I saw something on that area. Yes, all those are opportunities. All those are available. definitely you can pursue those. So you will have to come here with a very open mind. I would recommend everybody to think about it in a, sorry? So come up with an open mind, make sure that no job is low or beneath or any of like that. Just keep doing it. Get your certification, paralegal certification here. I think in based on states, you can be either a 1-year course or a 2-year program. So if you get that, get into the law firm, be a paralegal for a short time. As and when you keep growing and you are ready for being an attorney, you can jump into LLM program because everything requires funding, everything requires planning here. That's the other aspect I would highly recommend everybody is plan. In India, not necessarily we plan everything, it just happens. Somehow magically things happen. But here, if you come here, nothing of those magic is going to work. You got to plan, you got to execute it on your own. So those are some of the self-starter, as they call it here, is you need to be putting your foot down and saying, this is the time I have to put in effort because other things will keep coming in, your family priorities will come in, other aspects of your life will come and say, hey, you don't need to do this because you're not growing. But if you want to be continuously doing it, at some point it will grow. Make sure in your calendar, mark an hour of networking events to attend every week, or 1 hour of a continued education I should learn or grow, or 1 hour, or I have to do the certification course within XYZ time frame. Put deadlines for yourself. Make sure that you are focused on it. Focusing will give you results. The moment you lose focus, that's where everything seems like falling apart. And that's where you should call ICSI Overseas USA Center, and the people will support you. And then we will say, okay, what is happening here? Why are you not doing this? And you get some accountability into play. Keep the support, keep the network growing, keep all these resources, use it to your advantage so we can grow as a larger community.
I would like to add here, like we keep mentioning about the importance of having an education or degree or some kind of certification or training here. But do not hesitate in applying for any university just because of the finances or funding or for the expense part, because they actually offer a lot of scholarship. And few universities are very good who promote like foreign students who are coming for these kind of courses. I mean to say the corporate governance kind of courses. And the reason is if you show that you already are holding this qualification and you already have experience, and particularly you highlight a specification of your experience, that may earn you a very good scholarship and sometime even a Fulbright scholarship. So that might not, that way you can lessen one hurdle out of your way. So even when I came here and I did my LLM, I got a very good scholarship. And later when I discussed with my counselor, the major part of that scholarship was because of my CS qualification. So because that is so diversified, so they treated me like a very learned person. So that's what I wanted to share. So please do not hesitate, show off in your resume and on your essays what kind of work you did in the past, so that you might have very less burden of your finances in achieving your education here. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakshmi. And the last question to Renuka Raman. How to connect with the ICSI Overseas Center USA? Please share the email ID of the center.
USA Center, CENTRE at icsci.edu. You can also, we have a WhatsApp group which is there, so we can share the link. I think Sonu can share the link here as well. Join in if you are going to be in the US. If you plan to be here, then join the group because it's specifically for US members who are ICSA members, but living in the US, because that's the support that we are trying to create here. Please attend all the events. We do have monthly programs that we are working to get everybody, all the members here in the US, so that they can get the CPA credits for them for attending the event. A couple of other things that we are doing is trying to get networking events as well here in the US for the members so that helps them create a forum for growth and career development.
Great.
Yeah, Praveen would like to add something.
Right. So besides the networking and all the things, then I want to just summarize my view about the opportunities for the company secretaries in this time. So we all actually provide governance services in various areas. Again, we are being confined to certain laws, or as I said earlier, that may be for companies who are not listed or even listed companies. Then that's where probably we see our role as a corporate professional, right? But again, in the new challenges that we face, the governance is everywhere. So probably we have to market ourselves, present ourselves as governance as a service. So you have seen this term in various areas, various ways. But I think what is apt for us to say is governance as a service, right? So we provide governance in all the functions of a company, not just for anything. We have environmental laws, social laws, then any compliances which are applicable for any functions of a business, then we should be able to provide services as a corporate professional. So that should be the new opportunity for all of us. And I think globally that allows us to be part in any company, any organization, when you call yourself as, when you're providing the services, governance as a service itself. So any function, any business, any domain, you take it, we need governance, and we are the right professionals to provide those services based on extensive knowledge, extensive preparation that we have. So I think that's my view that you all have to embrace, and probably we should have the ongoing discussion to take this forward.
Lakshmi would like to add.
I would just want to say, I know there are the few companies which are registered themselves, like people who have right visa in place, they can actually open a company just to cater the companies with their services for the governance, as Praveen detailed. This could just be a business, just providing the governance services. And that kind of company may sponsor other people too, but the people who already have the visa and they have all the eligibility to open the business, they can actually just open this business.
Yeah, not just
right
for the
knowledge, right understanding.
Right, not just for the US. I think globally, this is what we all can provide: governance as a service. So I think that's a great opportunity. But again, knowing the laws in those particular countries is important. In addition to what we are. So use this qualification, being a corporate secretary, as a springboard, but add on to other qualifications so that we all can expand our services globally.
Yeah, I wish to propose a vote of thanks for all the panelists. The essence of today's discussion, I feel, is that company secretaries as such are studied the various laws in India. But when it comes to US, all the panelists feel that the professional should be focused in a particular area, like a doctor having a specialization in a particular ENT or spinal, whatever. So something like that, what they are suggesting is that, in my view, that specialization is more important to have the opportunities coming up for the company secretaries in India. And on the platter, you have got n number of items. So which one you want to choose? So it depends on the company secretary, where he wants to be specialized, expertise in that particular field. I can say that it is a devotion in that particular field. Dedication and perseverance are very, very important to become an expert in the given area where the CS takes up the practice. Having said that, I wish to thank, on behalf of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, Ms. Renuka Madam, Mr. Praveen, and Mr. Lakshmi for spending your valuable time to express or vent your views on the profession, the journey that you have taken from India to US, and where you have established yourself in specialized areas. On behalf of all the participants and on behalf of ICSI, once again, I thank you. And I also thank the participants for posing so many questions, which have been, I think, very comfortably answered by all the panelists. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Has
Wonderful.
it been-
You. Wish you all good luck.